Hi everybody, welcome to our coverage of the 2026 Florida Film Festival. It's a beautiful day here in Central Florida at the Enzian on location. Welcome, I'm Ernest.
I am Hunter.
And I'm Drew.
Drew, how many times will we make the plug that you predicted Paul Giamatti? Anytime we do any coverage, I think we have to say it.
I've been struggling with this. So this is a really, for those who missed it, we were doing bits about like the film festival lineup and how like celebrities, appear and how there was like a surprise one. And I did a bit about how it's cool. It would be like, oh, it's Sideways Night with Paul Giamatti. That's what it is. This is a hard thing to explain to people how crazy
Right,
that
we were
is.
talking last night.
It's hard to it's hard to communicate how unlikely of a thing that is. It's not impressive per se. It's just it's funny, you know.
We were talking that we need to just make a bit about people who are like a guy who's really good at making predictions, but they have no consequences whatsoever in the grand scheme of things. Because that's your special talent.
I was thinking that, or like a guy whose bits just start coming true, and he realizes how powerful, but it has to be like a pure bit.
So filmmakers, if you're watching, we are selling this idea for a lot of money. So we have a lot of movies to talk about. We've seen, how many did you count? 10?
10.
Collectively.
And by we mean Hunter.
We've been grinding. So we're recording this on Sunday. So the film festival's only a couple days in, and we've already racked up 10.
Yeah. We got some good ones. I think there's already been some good gems.
Yeah.
I don't think, Ernest, we diversified yesterday.
Yeah.
I would say that I took the safe path, and you kind of took the path of chaos. And we'll talk about whether or not we'll talk about whether or not that worked out for you for those movies. But yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about a few of them, including probably my most anticipated movie of the fest coming in. It's something that Drew and I both saw, and that's Tuner. This is the new movie from director Daniel Roher, who won the Academy Award a few years back for Navalny, his documentary. He actually also has an AI doc coming out later this year called The AI Doc, or How I Became an Apocalyptimist. Yeah. Really rolls off the tongue there.
Tuner's a great title.
Yeah, Tuner, awesome title. This is like...
it's what Matt Johnson calls like a coin that he puts on the ground so that Jay McCarroll can find him later.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh wait, no, that's a toonie.
That's
Sorry.
a toonie. Yeah.
Oh my
close.
God.
What a joke. That really was the long wind up there for the payoff.
I didn't know where it was going.
No. So this is, I'd say, one of the better premises that I've heard for a movie in years.
And this is also, this is one of the spotlight films, correct?
Yes.
Of the film festival.
It's not in competition.
Yeah. You're dealing at most film festivals, including this one, you're dealing with multiple sort of tiers of types of film. The spotlight films are bigger budget, like more studio heavy.
They
produced.
Almost always already have distribution.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just a way to sort of spread the word about this movie. Whereas most of the films that we're going to see and we're going to talk about are made, they almost have to be judged on a different curve because they're made usually for far less budget, with way less resources. So it's just a matter of resource allocation, and with that little, can you make something that's going to end up making noise and be sort of a proof of concept, or just be an incredible thing on its own. Tuner is the former. It feels very polished. It's starring Leo Woodall, who I knew from White Lotus season 2.
Yeah, I think that's the main way that a lot of people know him.
I think
he was in Nuremberg last year. Where my Nuremberg headset.
I want to say he was on one of the British shows like Skins, but not quite, like Dairy Girls or something.
I believe it. Yeah,
because he's kind of a hunk. He's like he's a Brit hunk.
Look, this movie is kind of about just like two people being hot together and just buying their chemistry, and you buy their chemistry.
Yep,
the other one's hot. The other one's Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, and you got it. It's almost like a curse when a movie has such a good premise sometimes, because you read the premise, and it's like, a piano tuner with like a hearing disability that makes it so he can hear too good and has perfect pitch, hypersensitivity,
gets recruited by criminals to help them crack safes. You hear that, and if I were to introduce just a couple more elements, like there's a romance involved, he gets in over his head, I'd say, 75% of the movie just comes into your brain, like, because the premise is so strong for a movie. Like, you're just like, oh yeah, I see it all. And so you're almost battling that while watching it, because it's like, it's not his fault he has such a good idea. You know what I mean? And like the pattern recognition machine is just kind of taking off. The movie's super solid.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. Leo Woodle is I mean, he was a scene stealer in White Lotus. And this is a really classic, like sort of quiet, tough guy movie star performance, almost like Drive style in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's very stoic.
Yeah. But he is a movie star. You watch this and you're like, that guy's a star. Like he's got it. The delight of the movie to me was Havana Rose Liu.
Yes.
Who plays the love interest, Ruthie, and she steals a couple scenes away from him. She finds a lot of dimension in this love interest role that is not on the page. But you buy her as such a dimensional, as a fully fleshed out character. She brings a lot to the film. What did you think about the movie?
So, I mean, similar to you, the premise is so good. This movie came out originally at TIFF, I want to say. TIFF and Telluride last year, I think is where it had its original premiere. Got a bunch of noise there because it was kind of like, oh my God, this documentarian is taking on narrative features and came like up with a genius premise. Immediately while watching it, I kind of had the idea of like, he definitely was doing like a doc, heard some things about piano tuning, and like because of his background was like looking into that path, probably went on some like YouTube rabbit holes, and it was like, wait, I have a better idea for a movie than just making a documentary about like piano tuning. And that's, I think, how you come about it with this premise. Look, there's moments in this movie that I thought this is going to be my favorite movie of the year. Like, I think that the highs of this movie are incredible. A lot of it starts with the sound design, which is phenomenal. Leo Woodle, the character, as you mentioned, he has he's allergic to loud noises, is how they describe it. He basically has hypersensitive hearing. And the way that they choose to kind of represent that in the film is really interesting. Every time that he has, like, his earplugs in, that even from the poster and from everything, it kind of looks like he's wearing a hearing aid, but it's almost the opposite. It's almost like he's wearing like noise-reducing earplugs. Every time he takes it out, everything gets really loud, but not loud in just like a pure volume way. It's like you can hear the footsteps of everything. Everything has so much dimension to it.
Yeah,
and
the movie requires a lot of sound design stuff, and it does it well.
Incredibly well realized. A lot of the score is awesome in this movie. It really utilizes jazz piano playing. We learn later on throughout the film that the Leo Woodle character, Nikki, used to be like a savant on piano, and then because of this allergy he developed, he kind of lost that. So falls into love with the Ruthie character, who actually is like trying to get this apprenticeship with a maestro. And the way that he utilizes the score is really, really good. We meet some what do we want to call them? Some goons that we're not going to interrogate.
Hey,
we're not going to interrogate
what is this, some kind of tuna in here?
Well, no, it's more so of like their country of origin.
They're
like
Israeli.
Without expressly saying it in the movie, that's what they are. But I think that they are all awesome. I think the chemistry that they all have is there. This movie did not, spoiler alert, it did not become my favorite movie of the year because it does fall into like very classical movie conventions in a way that was a little bit frustrating at points because I think the highs are so high, but I still love this movie.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, like a lot of the movie does just feel inevitable. Like, you know, it's like, okay, once early in the movie, you know, not to spoil too much, but you meet Dustin Hoffman. He seems super old. You're like, our guy's about to fall into crime. Why would he maybe need money if his boss who he loves is really old? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of that going on. But there are times where it definitely elevates above that. The other issue that I would say is the script, I think, has one or two too many coincidences that it relies upon. You know what I mean? I had a really good professor one time who said you get one in your script, in your feature script. You get one crazy coincidence. There are probably three.
The leap of faith.
Yeah. And so it starts to feel a little bit too tidy, especially a coincidence that happens at the end of the film. Still, a lot of these movies that we're going to be talking about are the thing that you look for is performance a lot of the time. And this movie has just absolute killers in it. Like it has people really giving their best, solid direction. it's not the best possible delivery on it's an A+ premise, and it, I'd say like maybe B- delivery upon that premise, but because the premise is so strong, you end up with like a movie that's good. I like the movie.
One thing we were talking about right before we started recording is this idea of like how these movies are selected for this film festival and what the selection committee might be looking for. And I think all these movies we're going to talk about are flawed, but you can kind of see how there's one thing, maybe it's a performance, maybe it's a thematic choice, maybe it's the look or the sound of it that stands out from all the other submissions that didn't get selected for the film festival. So, that's something that I didn't really think about too much last year when we did this, but now going into it, it's something I'm thinking about with pretty much every movie I'm seeing. Is like, okay, why this one? What is it about this one that stood out, right? And none of these are going to be perfect movies, but it's interesting, maybe not with Tuner, but with some of these other ones, they're not studio films. And so these decisions that are being made, they're not coming from like a focus group or an executive trying to push whatever conglomerate projections for their stake shareholders. It's like these are artistic decisions, right? So if we say that stuff didn't work for us, I think that there is another side to that, because it will work for somebody else, right? And I think all these movies will call out nitpicks, will call out flaws, but that's just our opinion. And I think that it comes with that territory of like, these movies are the vision of a guy or a gal or a group of people who came together to make something, and it's not the direction of a studio project.
So I think it's very interesting that you say. I'm glad that you kind of mentioned that first and foremost. Right before we started recording, I had the chance to meet a couple filmmakers for a movie that we'll talk about later on in the week, because we have not had a chance to see it yet. But they kind of said something similar to that. And we were talking for a good 20-30 minutes up at the bar while we were setting up for recording, just kind of about the state of indie movies right now, and almost
distribution,
and mostly just kind of how the tails on both ends of indie filmmaking on filmmaking as a whole are getting crazier and crazier. Like, the most expensive movies are becoming more and more expensive, as we all know, and as we've talked about in this pod many times, that what was once a $100 million movie is now a $200-300 million movie. But the flip side of that is that we are seeing a boom in indie filmmaking like we've never seen before. And in that indie filmmaking base are more and more production studios that are very filmmaker focused, that are very much of the opinion of like, even if it's flawed, we want to let these filmmakers get their vision out as they see it in their head. And it might be a little bit messy, but like, there's a beauty in that. There's a beauty in the messiness
exactly, yes.
that you don't get with the polish of something being focus grouped to death. Like, I would so much rather see something that's a little bit shaggy, that maybe it could have used a second or a third pass, than something that feels like it's been sanitized by 10,000 other people that have had their hands on it already.
So what's next?
So next up is probably the second biggest movie that we've seen so far. Full disclosure, we have not seen Obsession yet, which had its premiere last night at the festival. Very excited.
Saving it for later. We will see it.
Yeah. The other big one, I think, was Caroline, which
the opening night.
That was the opening night film. That was made some buzziness out of, I believe it was TIFF this past year. I could be mixing up my fall festivals, but Ernie, you and I both saw this movie together on opening night. What were your thoughts on Caroline?
I thought it was a slow start. Mm-hmm. The ending didn't grab me too much. I kept waiting for it to kick in, and I think it did. I think there's a moment when this movie fully comes to life. It's a story very similar to something like Bonnie and Clyde. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was also called out in the Q&A afterwards. So it's a lot of things that you've maybe seen before, a guy and a girl on the run falling in love. The falling in love at the beginning was what kind of didn't fully grab me. But once they get into the con and the heist, this movie really clicks in. It has a couple of really great performances. We got Kyle Gallner and Samara Weaving in the lead here.
Samara Weaving, so hot right now.
Yeah, and the movie knows it.
Yeah, the movie both like hot in the public eye.
I did not mean hot like that.
Both hot. Well, tell that to filmmaker Adam Reimer, because he really thinks he wants to show off how physically hot she is.
I just meant like she's like a budding like mega star. Like she's on the verge of becoming an A-lister.
Yeah. I don't think so. I make that as like a joke. I don't think that's a bad thing because I think the movie, as much as I love a good con movie, we talked about after the show that like I'm kind of a sucker for like anything that's like sleight of hand or just like a con man kind of going through things, whether it's The Sting or whether it's something like this. Like it kind of works on me. And the movie, outside of that, it relies solely on these two people who are both very attractive people having chemistry with each other. And you fucking buy it, man. Yeah. That is the thing about this movie that would make it sink or swim. And it swims
I
because
did
of
find
that.
the scenes which they're conning to have better chemistry than when they're in the bedroom.
Well, the bedroom scenes, I have some questions about the way that some of those are shot.
When they're
speak on that.
There's a lot of Samara Weaving ass shots. Like maybe like 3 too many.
Yeah.
I'm like,
all
okay,
the underwear stuff. I'm like, okay, is this to keep folks engaged so that they follow you to the next thing? Maybe.
Yeah. That's very charitable read on any director's intention.
But when you do follow it to the next thing, there's a lot of good stuff there. Yeah. The acting is very strong. Once shit inevitably hits the fan and it all goes wrong for these two, I think it really works. Yeah. I think that the movie finds this stride in the middle when they're really getting into this heist, into this con, and it starts to tighten and you start to feel the pressure of the law kind of coming after them. The movie sells it really well. It's very well shot. There's a lot of music, a lot of like country music carrying us through this thing. It's kind of like a road trip movie. There's a lot of road trips at this
I know. I'm still thinking there's like 3 road trip movies I've seen already at this festival, which is funny.
And the way this one does it is cool. I really liked it. I don't know if it's like a perfect movie, but I do think that as far as the performances go, and this energy of the heist and the con, I think there's a lot to love there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that it is a movie like it's Gen X Bonnie and Clyde. Like that's it. I think that's
Gen X.
It's a period piece to like the early 2000s.
Well, they did ask the director that, and he didn't explicitly say.
It's like 2003.
Yeah,
like that's kind of the time.
There's
frame
payphones. There's
I've seen Gen X Bonnie and Clyde. It's called Thelma and Louise, buddy.
That's Gen X as fuck.
There's a little bit of that where it's just like it's sitting in the shadow of a lot of other better movies, and that I don't even necessarily mean that solely as a knock on it, but it's a movie where like you know exactly like beat for beat what the movie is going to do. Yeah. It's also like it is a journey for the Caroline character. She's trying to get to South Carolina to meet her mother.
I did like that subplot a lot. That worked for me. You get a sneaky surprise. Oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Keira Sedgwick.
Yeah, Keira Sedgwick. Keira Sedgwick, great in like the one scene that we get of her.
And just the fallout of that. Yeah. Of that subplot and what it means for the main character.
I think that all worked for me. Like again, it's a movie that's. I don't think it's not reinventing the wheel by any stretch of the imagination. We should have mentioned this filmmaker. Adam Reimer, we had a chance to listen to a Q&A with him. This is the same guy who brought a Snack Shack a couple years ago.
Heard good things.
Dinner in America.
People love Dinner in America. Have you heard about this? Yeah. It's like a TikTok thing.
Yeah.
Half the questions at the Q&A were about this guy's other movie.
Yeah, kind of felt bad.
It's a cult film.
He was very kind about it. Sometimes you get directors who are like, can you please talk about this movie?
The current movie that we just watched?
He was super nice about it. Was willing to answer all the questions.
He was really
about
ready to
movie.
take selfies with the fans.
Seemed
the
like
people
a cool
who did
very tall.
Yeah, who's sneaky tall guy?
Yeah.
A lot of sneaky tall filmmakers this festival this
What's
year.
Going on?
Maybe that was
What's
the theme.
Happening?
Yeah. No, I liked it. Like I was very, even if I don't think it was like genre breaking in any kind of way, I was very charmed by this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of all that you can ask for from a movie like this is like, you're seeing these two actors out there. Do they have fireworks together? And do you like buy them as a couple that you're willing to go on a journey? And there's a climactic moment that happens at the end that actually like it got me a little bit choked up. Like I do think it's affecting. And to that, I got to give the film credit.
All right, what's next?
So next up on here is, we can talk about Damned If You Do. It's another movie that we saw. It's probably one of the other ones that I don't think it's been acquired yet, but I could see Netflix grabbing this one. Or at least if not grabbing it per se, it will end up on a Netflix because of, as we'll talk about, there's a lot of Flanagan. The Flanagan verse exists.
This is a
film.
horror comedy
It's much more in the comedy camp. It's very campy. Very campy.
Starring mostly Harvey Guillen from What We Do in the Shadows and Mrs. Mike Flanagan.
Kate Siegel. As well as Ginger Gonzaga.
The plot is essentially a group of high school seniors make a deal with a demon played by Harvey Guillen. And they get to do whatever they want. They get the power to do whatever they want for 25 years, and then they burn in hell for eternity after those 25 years. And so the movie quickly blows through those 25 years in a montage, and then the bulk of it is a 25-year high school reunion in which at midnight the contract will come into effect and they will burn in hell unless they figure out a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
And hijinks ensue. It is a crazy, wacky movie. Kind of like, I feel like these might be my thoughts for a lot of these movies, but there is a stretch in which it really clicks in the middle, where it fully works, the wackiness, everything that Harvey Guillen is doing is so extra, so over the top. And
I love everything about him in this movie. I think like it is a new Harvey, like it's actually a showcase for Harvey Guillen in many ways.
There might be people who might think it goes a little bit too much. It might overstay its welcome a little bit. I maybe got there a little bit towards the end, like it maybe started to wear a little bit thin, but that I could say that for just the movie as a whole. Towards the end, it just started to lose me a little bit. But this movie had the theater laughing. And I was right along with it. I was laughing so consistently with this thing, and it works. It really works. I do think that there are issues here in terms of like whether or not we're nailing this wacky tone, the violence with the comedy. But I do think that they managed to do essentially a satire about like, should we be forgiven for the sins that we commit throughout our lives? And what's worse, meeting your 25-year reunion high school colleagues,
or burning in hell.
The movie has a lot of fun with that.
6 one, half dozen the other. Like, what's the real hell? Is it just going to your high school reunion? No, I think so. The campy aspects of this movie, put aside some like millennial cringe, which I've just kind of grown to expect for like the horror comedy genre in this generation. It's the millennials that are making the movie. You're gonna have a little bit of like fucking just millennial cringe moments in there. That's just like we're just doing a little bit like, so that just happened. There's a couple.
She's right behind me, isn't she?
It's a couple of those moments that are always like, oh brother, like tugging at my lapel. But put those aside, I thought those all really worked. What didn't work as well for me is, we mentioned Kate Siegel. Mike Flanagan has a cameo himself.
I was ready for it to just be one scene. I was happy
with it. It's a cameo. And he's fun in it. Like, I think he actually gives a good performance in his scene that he has. Towards the third act,
shout out to the guy next to me who was like, the best scene of the movie was the Mike Flanagan 90 seconds.
That's great. I'm really happy for that guy. There's a couple points where filmmaker is, he thinks that maybe he can write a monologue like Mike Flanagan can.
Yikes.
And it falls a bit flat. That's kind of the things where the campiness is working really well. I didn't buy the, whenever we're trying to make esoteric, ruminations about like what humanity is and what it means to be a good person. There's also I think that they're purposeful, heavy-handed metaphors, but there's still like
there's a character who's essentially like a Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman type guy, and that's what he did with his deal with the devil.
Now,
there's another character who's like an environmentalist. Yeah. So the movie
I really liked her performance, Ginger Gonzaga. I really liked her. Paolo Costanzo, I don't think he gave a great performance. It's not his. I mean, he is not like a huge.
This is
actor.
the Zuckerberg.
This is the Zuckerberg type.
No, sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Like, I really wanted more from that. If you're going to be the one that is the most heavy-handed person there, like, you got to kind of deliver me a little bit more from that. But overall, like, I did really like the film as a whole. I was thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, it's a fun, schlocky horror comedy.
I actually could see this movie because it's, especially the way that it starts really fun. I can see this playing pretty well on streamers, that people do get sucked in, because you don't get
the Harvey Guillen character alone. Like, people are just going to be like, let me see this guy just be a crazy, freaky, flamboyant demon.
Yeah, it's great. Like, he's so good. He's so much fun. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed myself with this movie. So, Ernie, I'm gonna clear out and let you take the next two, because we did a little bit of dividing and conquering. So, in whatever order you wanna take yours.
All right. So, you guys went to see Tuner. I went to see the film Return from Tomorrow, the follow-up from Escape from Tomorrow.
Completely voluntary choice by you. No one was telling you to do this.
Well, you know, I'm going to be gone a lot of these days this week, and I saw that Tuner is playing again. And
that's true.
Return from Tomorrow, I think, is also playing again, but one of the days that I'm gone. So that's a lot of my scheduling, is what's the gap in the week that I won't be watching films, and what can I will see Tuner. So
tell me a little about Escape from Tomorrow.
I haven't seen it in over 10 years.
Just the shtick of it, though.
I had to do like a Wikipedia summary of what it is. What I remembered is they shot it guerrilla style in
Disney,
in Disney World and Disneyland. That's kind of all I remembered about it, is that it's just a guy with his family, with his daughters and wife, just having a bad time at Disney World, and then somehow he ends up in like some underground secret Disney World bunker where he's being tortured and just shown his own sins on a big screen, kind of thing.
Oh heavens.
So I had to read up on it, and yeah, that is kind of what the movie is. There's a lot more to it. There's some conspiracy theories that get thrown in there, which are kind of regurgitated in this movie in many ways. This movie's not a sequel to Escape from Tomorrow. It's also not a remake. There were some questions in the Q&A about like what it is, and
it's a great sign.
They only said that it exists in the same universe. So the director was not there. Some of the cast was there. They actually said that this was their first time seeing the film. Was last night. I guess this is the premiere of the film. I was very perplexed by this movie. This is a very weird movie. I don't think I liked it. I think that there will be folks out there who will like it and will appreciate its attempts at Lynchian, surrealist, dreamlike weirdness.
Wow.
But I really struggled with it, and I kept waiting for it to get to the point. Because you're thinking, okay, we all know Escape from Tomorrow is this riff on occult, underground Disney lore that they're trying to poke at and hope that Disney pokes back. And they didn't. Famously, that's the thing with Escape from Tomorrow, is that they wanted it to be this provocation, and Disney never touched it.
They didn't bite.
Well, because Disney kind of had the foresight of like, if we feed into this, then it's only going to help.
Yeah,
like that was part of the marketing. The idea of it was like, we're going to get Disney to try and sue us, and then that's going to make this thing
and they didn't
bigger.
And now it's been over a decade, and now they're back with this movie. But I think my biggest thing keeping me from loving this movie is that, or not even loving it, or at least being like somewhat drawn to it, is that it doesn't have the guerrilla filmmaking aspect.
So
they didn't shoot it.
This is what I was going to say.
Location or
so Escape from Tomorrow is a very, very polarizing film, but honestly, I wouldn't even necessarily call it polarizing, because it's not like a ton of people love it necessarily, but because I think of the hype around how it was made, it wound up like a bunch of people saw it.
Yeah.
You know, it aired at a ton of fests, like serious like critics saw it and reviewed it. Like it had some momentum.
It had novelty.
Yeah, back then it had a lot of momentum to it.
Ebert was still with us at the time, and he gave it a spotlight.
Wow.
I don't think he gave it like a review or a best of list or something, but I think Ebert had like a curated film festival that he was doing before he passed, and this was included. Or I guess Escape from Tomorrow, I should say. Return from Tomorrow. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't think I like this movie. I think that it's very interesting what they did here to kind of come back and do it again all these years later and bring back the original cast and kind of redo a lot of the same beats in an entirely different way. This is a story about a husband and a wife and the kid and the kid's friend journeying from Wisconsin to it's Miami this time. They don't go to Orlando. There are a couple sequences in Orlando that kind of harken back to the original film. I did want to spotlight Udo Kier is in this film, the late Udo Kier. And
this is his final film.
I believe this is his final role. Yes. And he's great in the film. I mean, he doesn't get to do a lot, but his character sort of points in the direction of what is this movie trying to say about the occult, underground, hidden nature of Disney World. What really irked me is, we live here, we work here, we are aware, we're plugged in, more than most folks are in this area. You can't just say Reedy Creek Improvement District and think that you uncovered something.
Mm-hmm.
That's not enough.
Yes, I've dealt quite a bit with that. They don't hide the name of that.
Right.
Yeah, deal with that at work.
I think for the movie to draw out so much and make you feel, at least in my experience, like you're waiting to get to this other reveal, it just isn't worth it. It just isn't worth it. And I do think that the final sequence, I won't give it away, if this movie makes it out into the world in some way, and you can watch it, I'm not going to spoil the ending of this movie. The last 10, 15 minutes, I thought were really fucking cool. I wish that the whole movie was the last little bit of this movie, because what it does, and I'm really restraining myself from giving specifics here because I would love to dig into it. It's fucking cool that they did that. It's fucking cool. There's just a whole other movie before that that I didn't really click with at all.
Well, we saw Tuner. It was good. What do we?
It tries stuff. It tries stuff.
What do we got next here?
Oh, I did want to mention real quick. A movie that might end up being one of my favorites of the festival is called If I Go, Will They Miss Me? Came out of Sundance. Really beautiful movie, very beautiful shots, trying to evoke a lot of Barry Jenkins, a lot of Moonlight and If Beale Street Could Talk, sort of the lyrical poetry of those movies. Beautiful score. It's a story of a family in what I believe is LA or Southern California. The dad just got out of prison and he's trying to be a good dad. Mostly the relationship between him and his son. The mom is played by Danielle Brooks, who I think gives one of the best performances of anyone in any of these movies. I think is a great role for her here as the mom trying to hold this family together. And the dad, I don't have his name pulled up. I don't know if you can pull it up, but I thought he was really, really good. And I thought he gave a really great performance in terms of this guy who is clearly trying to let go of a past version of himself, but worried about how him doing that, is he a better or a worse father for that? So this guy's name is J. Alphonse Nicholson. Really, really great performance from him. And you can tell that this movie is a reflection of a real community in this, I want to say it's LA projects, but the movie never makes it quite explicit. It's probably in the credits somewhere. I was hoping the movie would really take me somewhere else emotionally and really kind of fuck me up, for lack of a better term.
It seems like the premise is like you would expect it to evoke a lot out of you.
It's just a vibe.
You mentioned Barry Jenkins, you were just it's trying to go for the Barry Jenkins, the Moonlight, the If Beale Street Could Talk kind of thing.
It's mostly just a hangout movie. It has what I would describe as kind of surreal-ish aspects to it. It wants to link itself to these myths, these Greek myths of Poseidon and Pegasus, and I couldn't really tell what it was trying to do with that. I guess that there's this idea of flight and this idea of Pegasus taking flight, and I guess the thematic idea of growing up and what that means for the son, and whether or not he wants to stick to the way his dad is and be like his dad, or make his own path, or whether he wants his dad to, allow him to tell him how to live his life, that kind of thing. So there's a lot to ruminate here on the movie and sort of, let it sit in your mind and toss the themes around. But just the experience of just watching the shots on a big screen, really, really well done visually. Love the cinematography, love the music. I thought the performances were very strong. So even though it didn't quite like make me cry or like mess me up emotionally as much as I thought it would, as I'm going through some of these other movies, it's kind of bubbling up at the top.
Worth your time.
Yeah.
Wherever it ends up.
If I have to, will they miss me?
As we, as time passes, we'll, news will slowly break of like where these films end up. So we'll have to update y'all in like the months to come, basically.
Yeah, this one in particular, I know it played at Sundance and it made some noise. It's playing again at the festival, depending on when people are listening to this. I don't remember the exact day. I'm trying to pull it up, but
let me hit you with one more. A movie I just saw right before coming here to record. It's called Crystal Cross. This is a movie about a man who... It's another road trip movie. There's a lot of road trips here.
Hey, it's a really cheap location, a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easy.
It's about a man who encounters this woman, and it's a romance, but it's not. It's one of those where it's this friendship that has this will they, won't they love story. But the movie manages to be a very dark story about, what this guy is going through, why he's going on this road trip. I won't give away sort of his little traumatic past that the movie injects, but that's not really the main thing. The main thing is this girl who is very Christian and very vocal about her faith. And the movie has so much fun with that because it infuses a lot of vulgarity into it. And it gives you this flip side of Christianity, of someone who is so indebted to their devotion to Christ, and yet is willing to, party and drink and divulge into hedonism and sinning. And I thought, this girl, I don't have the actress's name in front of me. She is phenomenal in this movie. I thought she was so good. One of the, going back to my point about like, what does the nominating committee latch onto when picking these films? There's a scene where they go to Third Man Records, I think in Memphis. You have her name?
Is it Ruby Rose Hill?
Yeah. Ruby Rose Hill. Amazing performance. The man is Richie James Fallon, who is also the writer and the director of the film.
Oh, wow.
Didn't love his performance as much, but the movie is really well directed. And it gives you these beautiful landscape shots. Like he really makes a meal out of the road trip aspect, and as they're passing through all these different locations, you get a sense of like how the road trip is, getting their relationship to evolve, and the film evolves, the look of the film evolves, and it's beautiful. All the different I almost get the feeling that they shot in digital and film. I have no evidence for that, but okay. I got the feeling that the actual shooting style evolves throughout the film as their relationship gets deeper and deeper. And there's some revelations that happen that I don't want to give away as to how their relationship deepens and what the stakes are in terms of that traumatic event that is fueling him, and how as their relationship deepens, what the choices have to be made as to whether or not they want to keep going together on this trip. But I really dug it. The music part of it, I think, is one of the best parts. I was about to talk about this Third Man Records thing. The scene where they record... Do you guys know how at these Third Man Records locations, shout out to Jack White, they have a press, a vinyl press? Yeah. They just do the vinyl press. They just record a song. You just see the song being recorded in the little recording booth. And I think that might be one of my favorite scenes of any movie I've seen at this festival. It's very well done. And they carry that theme throughout the movie. Crystal Cross is actually a reference to what she wants to title her album. And as I was walking out, people were singing the song.
So the song is good.
Yeah,
like
they have the song in their head.
A lot of times it is like a movie like this is kind of dependent on the music that is backing it up.
Yeah.
So the song is good. That's
Crystal
a great
Cross. Really enjoyed it.
Pop.
All right.
Good stuff. Sorry, we're passing a notebook back and forth of all of our things because we're shooting on location. I'll talk about this next one quickly because I just had a chance to see this like an hour before we started recording this podcast. Highly recommend it. It's a movie called Valentina. This movie
it's showing as we're recording.
It's showing as we are actively recording right now at the Enzian. No, so this is a movie that it is in the vein of like your Chloe Zhao, your Sean Baker, where there is one principal actor. In this case, it is somebody who I've like seen in things before, but usually just as kind of an ancillary part. Kayla Monteroso Meja. And I'm sorry if I got that a little bit wrong, but she is the only real actress in the entire film. For the most part, these are all real people. It is set on the El Paso border of the country, and I'd say that it shares a lot in common with some more like slacker all in one day kind of movies that we like I do think like it has a little bit of Linklater to it.
Another Texas boy,
but the difference is that these are all like real people that are interacting with, including a lot of Kayla's family, including like her brother and her father are in this movie, just playing her brother and her father in the movie Valentina. And I really love this movie a lot. I think that like it affected me for what it was, which is just kind of a day in the life, because I compare it to some of these slacker films, but she's kind of a hustler in her own way. Like she's somebody who doesn't necessarily have like a job, like one like 9-to-5 job, but she's just like, well, you know, I'm gonna go like do a reenactment bit up at the like Alamo basically to kind of like make a few bucks here and there, and then like I gotta go donate plasma and I gotta hype myself up for that to just like make some money and things like that. It does a couple of things that is a performance, but it is very much just telling the story of what it is like for this country on the border and what it's like for a lot of immigrants, especially Mexican immigrants moving over to the country. Of, you know, despite how fucked everything can be, there is still this idea of the American dream and this pursuit of the American dream that I really love. I think that she is incredible. It's one of my favorite performances I've seen in anything so far in the festival, especially because like she's interacting with just normal people. Like we underrate that sometimes, how difficult that is. I think that people talk about it with like Frances McDormand during Nomadland, like around that time, where it's like, do you know how hard it is to like get a performance off of real things? But also like, you know, real stories and real things that are happening make for the most compelling things that you can see in a film. So it's not political, but it is speaking to the politics of this country in a really interesting way without ever being overtly political. Because it's just about this like woman in her young 20s just like trying to make it. There's like a recurring kind of thing in the film where it shows her bank account like starting at $80 and like going into the negative and then coming back up. That comes back and play a couple different points in the film that it works really well. So really like it. It is the filmmaker Tati Rodero. It is their first film,
Valentina.
Really interested to talk to them if we have a chance to. So that's Valentina. The last film is somebody who, another one I think that we're gonna have a chance to speak to on this podcast, so I'll keep our overall thoughts brief, but that is the filmmaker behind excuse me, do we not write it down? Sylvania.
Sylvania.
Yeah, I got crossed out over here. It got crossed out on the thing over here. That's Sylvania. I really love this movie. Like, this is another one that just really affected me. It is another road trip movie, so keeping with the theme. It is about a couple that is basically on the verge of their divorce with their 17-year-old child and their 4-month-old baby right there.
I love the kid. What's the kid's name?
His name is Lucas Hedges 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Buy stock now. What is his name? Vercere.
Yeah, Graham Vercere.
He's funny.
Yeah, he's very good.
Saying,
I got a lot of notes about his basketball form here. His shooting motion is all kinds of
It works
fucked.
for the character, you know.
No,
He's a
it
weirdo.
does.
He sucks.
There is a great moment at like the midpoint of the movie when we should say Carrie Bechet is in this, which is, you know, longtime listeners know we started as a Halt and Catch Fire podcast.
Yeah, we'll have much to talk about with the director of this, Kyle Smith, because he's directed 3 features, I think, and Carrie Bechet is the star of all of them, dating back well over 10 years.
So let's go. Carrie Bechet heads, we've been out here. There's a great moment though, like halfway through the film, where she's just like, yeah, so like,
why are you doing that?
Yeah, like, is there like long term? Can you find like a different long term goal than like playing basketball? Because she like looks at his form where he's like throwing over his shoulder, and like, I don't think that's it, kid.
So it's mainly a character study, you know, on a road trip, but it has some really interesting dynamics between this couple. I think it has a lot of authenticity in what a failing-ish relationship really looks like. It's not just all bad. It's not just all good, you know?
Well, it's really good. Like,
middle.
It's a really good portrait of just like how the passage of time affects people. I like mainly what you will see with just kind of the effect that can have on a relationship, for lack of a better term, the scar tissue that can kind of develop when you just have so many years, when you've been telling the same stories over and over again with a person, how that can kind of wear down on each other. Can't wait to ask Kyle and like make sure he's doing okay, like with his own relationship in his life. But even just outside of the relationship aspect, we are introduced with Gracie, the Carrie Bechet character, her father, about halfway, 2/3 of the way through the film, Paul Dillon. And it's also about, you know, the way that time can take its toll on just any human. Just we see this character who is met with early onstage dementia, and seeing the impact of that, not only on him but on his family, on especially like how that can impact already strained family dynamics that exist there, like the guilt that can then be brought in with that. I don't know if you guys want to talk about your thoughts on the film.
I'm really interested to talk to Kyle Smith about it, because there's just so much specificity in the story that it feels like he must be pulling from some amount of truth, like lived experience.
You think he tried to do a live in the 90s challenge?
A lot of there's a lot of solid humor in it, interspersed throughout. Like we're sort of oscillating in between the dramatic and the funny. So it has the feel of a lot of indies that like it's a vibe that you've experienced before, which is a compliment.
I love Carrie Bechet.
She's a good actor, man. She's a really good actor.
I went into this wanting her performance to be good, and it was. And that's really like my biggest thing with this is I'm so glad that she's still working and still putting in good work, because Halt and Catch Fire is like, I really just want to go back and watch more Halt episodes after watching this movie because of how much I love her performance. And it is kind of the rock of the entire thing. Everything sort of revolves around this character and her journey. And if the guy in this movie is lucky enough to understand how lucky he is, he needs to lock it down. He needs to figure it out.
He needs to lock in, because get
my guy.
Yeah,
it's a great performance from Beck. The character, what is happening?
It becomes a bit of it's one of those things where it's like you inherently want to root for them to stay together. However, you're like, man, this guy does not deserve her.
Here's the thing.
All.
I do think that like, and this is another thing that I'm excited to kind of talk more about with Kyle, because he sucks, and also I think that is like a reflection of, and without putting this on to Kyle, without talking to him, I feel like that's almost how he feels himself to be, as like the writer of this. Yeah. Like, well, it has to be like,
I see myself in this picture and I don't like
it.
It's
literally that where I'm just like, this guy sucks, but also don't all guys suck? Right. Especially like it's one of those things where like so many times you hear, usually from women, not always, but usually from women, where they're like, I closed my eyes and I woke up 15 years later and I have 2 kids with this guy, and I guess this is just my life now. Mm-hmm. And like, he's not a bad guy. but like also he does suck too, and it's a very like particular vein of a person that like you can tell that they have this love with each other. And I gotta again just give huge shouts out to the performance from Morgan Beck, because
who doesn't do a ton of acting.
He doesn't do a ton of acting, and him and Carrie Boucher just have like an incredible chemistry, incredible like broken, fractured chemistry together. That's almost more difficult than just playing like we're hopelessly in love with each other. Like being able to wear that much scar tissue in the performance does really say a lot. So
I thought the movie did a really good job, especially with the performances, of playing between these two sides of adulthood and childhood, and how that's reflected in the events that are unfolding, especially with the new baby and the aging parent. Like you kind of get every aspect, every stage in this cast here, and especially with our two leads, with the Boucher and the Beck characters. These characters seem to be straining themselves and wishing and wanting to be younger, and to hold on to their youth as it goes away. And I think it's a really, I don't know if I'll want to ask the director if that was an intentional choice, but it feels like that is kind of what the movie is about in many ways, is both the inevitability of aging and later dying, and also this desire to like stop that and hold on to the youth, and how these characters are using this road trip to try to force themselves to be young and to live as if they were young.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that it even comes down to like, they have a 17-year-old and a 4-month-old. They have a newborn, and they have somebody who's like right on the cusp of not being considered a child anymore. Like, I think that that's all very intentional, and, you know, it's a very kind of smart choice to just kind of make that, like, I'm sure to the Gracie character and to the Stewart character, like, it's a thing that you often hear from parents, especially like parents that have that age gap between kids. It's just like, well, it doesn't feel like you guys were born 7 years apart to me. Like, to me, it just kind of feels like
a blink of an eye.
There's a really smart line from Frank, the Gracie's dad character on here, where he asks about the road trip, and he's just like, you know, how was the road trip to you? I know when everything's your age, like time moves, time crawls.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, that is as we age, the concept of time itself changes, and everything becomes shorter, and everything becomes more and more fleeting. And I think that what that is trying to capture within this film is it's really profound. I have not seen a movie like it this year.
Shout out to the hotel crew.
Oh my God.
Didn't you know this girl?
There's two comic relief characters, one of whom is Jess McKenna, who you regular on things like Comedy Bang Bang, like one of the better improvisers like on Earth, or the Dropout Network, if you're a fan of that. Dane, you listening? Yeah, she's really great, very funny.
And I think the other guy, is he Morgan Meyer?
Also Henneken.
Literally, there's a bit in here about a pilot program every guest gets one beer. That is one of the funniest things I've heard in a movie this year. It had me like, I could not stop laughing in the theater. I
want to spoil one little thing about this movie. Again, to my point about like the nominating committee and like how they choose these movies and why not others. I want to believe that someone latched on to the scene in which the son really has to take a shit and is about to shit himself in the
Has that
car.
been a common theme you've seen in the movies?
No. The opposite. This is a unique thing that this movie has that no other movie has.
Doing this.
No one has the scene in which they have to race around for this kid to find a toilet, or else he's gonna take a shit in the Sienna, in the 2000 Sienna.
The 2000 Sienna.
It's great.
All right.
Great shit. I can just rapid fire a couple. I had a chance to see some docs yesterday, so I'll go through these pretty quick because I know you guys have not seen these. The first one I can talk about is one that I saw a little while ago before the fest. It's called Santacon. This is a filmmaker who's made some stuff before. Notably, he made a documentary a few years ago that ended up kind of being picked up. I don't know if it got buzz on Netflix or what it was. Class Action Park. That's about a park that Johnny Knoxville. Yeah, it's about Action Park. This new film, Santacon, is about the what we now, our generation knows is like the famous like bar crawl that always gets trolled on SNL or on like Seth Meyers is just like the thing where it's the worst people you've ever met in your entire life take over New York City for like a weekend and just do like a bar crawl all dressed as Santa. It kind of is a little bit about that, but it's also does focus on kind of the origins of it. I think that it starts really promising. It is showing the creators of this, who I can't find on top of the letterbox right now, but it's the same guy who kind of created Cacophony, which for people who don't know, Cacophony is what Chuck Palahniuk eventually it would go on to inspire Fight Club, is this secret society, very, very, very early internet, in some cases kind of predating the internet. That was trying to make social stances of like anti-capitalist agendas, and you do see some of the origins of how Santacon started, which is this very like biting anti-capitalistic stance where we're gonna go to all of these areas on Christmas Eve and we're gonna like have a guy dressed up as Santa and we're gonna put a noose on him and we're gonna hang him in front of a bunch of kids like on like
it's freaking epic
street. It's a little cringy like now whenever we kind of discuss it, but at the time like it was like a really biting piece of anti-capitalism.
People were just realizing how capitalism works. Like, wait, is this bad?
People were like, I thought things were going good. Bill Clinton would just play the sax. Like, you're telling me that like they don't have my best interest at heart? This movie didn't really work for me all the way. It's a bit of a tonal. It's a tonal roller coaster, I'll say, because it starts where it wants to have its cake and also eat it too, where it wants to have fun, it wants to show like wasn't so crazy and partying down there, but then also like, you know, a lot of people live these rock and roll lifestyles and now like they're dying, so you have like one scene where it's like this guy was a shithead and he like led to a shutting down all these events and like kind of ruined some of these events because he like brought a velvet rope, like a red rope out and was like using it as his penis and like hitting people with it, like including cops. And now it's like, well, he's kind of dying of cancer, so we can't speak too well of the soon-to-be dead.
He's a good guy.
He's kind of a good guy deep down. There's like a few of those moments where it doesn't entirely work. It's entertaining for what it is, but it has a lot of potential that it doesn't fully capitalize on. But not to say that like it's not worth your time, especially if you are interested in Santacon or in the idea of Cacophony. Chuck Palahniuk is in this movie. He shows up for a couple of scenes, kind of speaking of what Cacophony was. There's a great moment where he talks about because where Santacon was, it like migrated around from different cities, and it moved to Portland in the second year, and he's there like actively taking notes and everything like that, and people thought that he was like an undercover cop, and they're just like, we can't trust this fucking guy. He's like, no, I'm like using this for a book I'm about to write. Like, it's very different.
So for Fight Club?
Cool. Yeah. So those moments are cool, but overall
so when Ed Norton says I'm gonna create a Santacon, that's a reference to Santacon?
It's a reference to Santacon.
Yeah. First rule of Santacon.
The other one is A Life Illuminated, which is a film that is about a pretty famous marine biologist who I was not familiar with. Edie Wider. She is pretty groundbreaking in the world of marine biology, not just like a pioneer for women, but just for humankind in general. She was one of the first people to really explore submersibles and actually going to the bottom of the ocean and seeing what this abundance of life looks like. One of her most famous contributions, she was actually the first one to capture on film the giant squid that everybody thought was like way extinct. That's the squid that is like 2 to 4 stories tall, like one of the largest creatures that we know in existence. But this is really focused mostly on her research into bioluminescence and the whole idea of, we know that there's all these plankton and there's all this life that exists down there, but how can something like photosynthesis exist if we know that sunlight does not reach down there? like what light source are they working off of. And she was pretty groundbreaking in some of her work to bring forward with bioluminescence. It's a classic one of those films where it promises, and this is a problem I have with a lot of science-based documentaries, where at the very beginning they promise to show you something that's never been captured before, and then you have to wait an hour and a half to see that. And so it's a lot of
Doesn't even give you a little sneak peek.
Baiting you out. Well, it's a lot of teasing you, like a little baiting, and it'll like cut back to like here's where I was in 1990 with my research, and then it like goes back to like we're now at 4,000 knots. Like we're kind of like working our way down more and more. I'm very interested in how they actually captured some of this film because there is a lot of camera work that's down there with them, like at the bottom of the sea. Shout out to OceanX, who is like another one of the main, like they created the submersibles that they're actually going in for this, and I'm assuming that they're a partnership for a lot of how they captured this film on camera. It's definitely interesting, especially if you are somebody who is fascinated in the deep sea and in oceanography. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. The film, though, that I think is probably my favorite of the festival so far, at the very least, it's my favorite documentary so far.
Wow.
That is School for Defectors. This is from Jeremy Workman, who is now at this point become a little bit of a journeyman for documentaries. He, a few years ago, had Magical Universe, which is actually getting a Vinegar Syndrome release for all my physical media heads out there. I think it either just came out or it's coming out soon. He had Secret Mall Apartment, which came out last year, which ended up being pretty buzzy, got a lot of noise, especially once it hit Netflix a few months ago. He's also made The World Before Your Feet. Like he's been around kind of all over the globe shooting very different types of stories. This film in particular is about it's focused on a school specifically for North Korean defectors that have, with their families, fled to South Korea. And the film starts with this specific school. It's the only one where it's a boarding school for defectors. It's only about 20 kids, and so it's a bit of an ensemble. You get to see a lot of these kids. Some of them do end up kind of becoming the main characters of the story, but it spends about a year-ish or so in their life, and you learn about their stories, about like where they came from in North Korea, in some cases via China from North Korea. And it's one of those movies that you see, and it's kind of like, how have we never seen this before? Like, this is telling me a new story. It's such a key world event that's happening right now. People having to flee to get the fuck out of North Korea because of it being such a humanitarian nightmare that like we don't see the news that's coming out of there, so it's just stories from people who are able to escape to like recount what it was like to be like forced. It's forced labor. It's basically slavery there, like once you hit the age of 18. And some of just the drawings that people are able to create and stories that they have is really all that we have to work off of from that country. So
they don't get to smuggle any footage out of there.
There's like one point where you see some snuggled photos, but that's it. There's not like
no video.
There's
Gotcha.
Like that. So you get to meet these kids just trying to make it on their own in South Korea, like where they actually do have a sense of freedom. By the way, I don't have his name in front of me, but the principal of the school that they're at is like one of the most pure human beings I've ever seen captured in my life, because one of his big things at the South Korean school is like, we're not going to teach you like calculus or something like that. We're going to teach you how to be a good person. And then like from there, like, and it's just it feels very foreign to something like America where everything is like so standardized testing based. But the whole thing is like, if we can teach you to be a good person and teach you to like think for yourself, because it's all about like breaking that cycle that a lot of people have where it's just like, I am a cog in a machine. If we can teach you to be a free thinker, then you on your own will want to learn calculus so that you can go to university and like become a doctor. Like it's inspiring people that you have to work on yourself first before you can work on how you're going to become part of the system as a whole. Which is just very fascinating to see some of that. Where this movie really clicks, though, is you do see a lot of the stories from the kids talking about like their memories, whether they were like 5 or 10 or 14 when they had to flee North Korea or China. But they are, without getting too into the specifics, they're working on a project where they have to interview their parents and ask their parents what it was like to try to sneak into this country and try and just like find a life for themselves. And it is some of the most harrowing shit that you will ever hear. That is, it brought me to tears multiple times. Some of the stories that you hear, just the journeys that people go through, and it's something that we can feel kind of privileged, just that we're in America, and like for all of our problems that we have with this country and how fucked it can be, like we don't have to worry about like I spoke out against the government and now I'm going to get shot in the street over it. Or now I'm going to
I mean we're very close.
Might be coming, but we're not there quite yet. And it's just like you can get in North Korea, you get sent to prison for life for watching like a South Korean drama.
Yeah,
like it's all kinds of just crazy things that we don't really think about here because it doesn't affect our lives. And not to say that South Korea politics are perfect in any ways. Go back to our talk about
No Other Choice.
No Other Choice. We're talking about their like speed running American in-stage capitalism.
So do the parents get as much time in the film as the students?
Not quite as much time, and a lot of it is because a lot of the parents, they like have to blur their faces or they have to obscure their voices because it's not even just, and this was something that was interesting to hear from Jeremy talk about and during the Q&A afterwards. It's not even for fear about North Korea retaliation. It's about fear from retaliation from their neighbors. Because we also don't think about it right now. North Korea and South Korea are still actively at war with each other. Like, they show this whole film is set in Busan, which is right on the border, and they have snipers that are facing out towards each other, like actively right now, every single day. And so there's a lot of racism that happens, like from their people like making fun of their accents, people being like bullied to death. That's why these schools were created by the South Korean government, is to give these North Korean children like a chance to integrate themselves into the society, because they're kids, man. At the end of the day, like we're all just like humans trying to make it, and these are kids. They're so pure right now. So the fact that you have to like teach somebody to like be a free thinker at the age of like 12, 14, 16, whatever it is, whenever they come over, it's really affecting. I think that this was a huge level up. I've seen a couple of Workman's films before. For me, this was like by far my favorite.
Sounds amazing. Can't wait to see it. All right, well, I think we can wrap it up there. That's what, 10, 11 movies we gave you? So there's going to be a few more, at least. We'll do at least one more of these before the fest is up, so keep a lookout. We'll include the names of all of these, the titles of all these films in the description. Hopefully they'll find distribution. We're still waiting on some of the movies from last year to be released, so it's kind of tough to find these. But if you're in the area, seek out Florida Film Festival. You can buy a ticket. Absolutely. Come support indie film. This is like where the real stories are being told. Yeah. Stick around. Thanks to Enzian, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Bye.